Queensland has endured one of its driest and hottest summers. The past 3 months have seen record heat waves, while almost 3/4 of the state remains drought declared.
The Weather Bureau says the number of places recording 100-year rainfall lows is staggering.
We've had a dry, hot summer, and that followed a record hot spring.
When it comes to setting summertime records, this season is a standout. The Bureau says there are around 100 locations where rainfall levels are at a 100-year low. The southeast is the most parched part of the state.
Huge storm slamming California with more rain than the drought-stricken state has seen in years.
Complete with an eye at the core, this is a map of the water vapor out over the Pacific. It's spinning into the state of California tonight.
The rain is coming ashore in wave after wave, touching off mudslides in some places.
Some of the debris coming down the hills is still smoking from a wildfire here last month.
This is what an inch of rain every hour can do. Streets are flooding, creeks turned into raging rivers, threatening homes. Strong winds knock down trees and power lines.
Rare funnel clouds in the skies, boulders hijacking highways. The sudden onslaught of rain brought hillsides into homes. In the past 48 hours, California got more rain than it's had in the past year.
This thing is now moving east, and it's turning into a major snow and ice event. Look at this. 3 people caught in an avalanche in Montana. It buried their house. Now this system is barreling towards some major American cities.
Relentless. It has already gone down as the third coldest and third snowiest meteorological winter here in Chicago. Across the Midwest, there are waterways jam-packed with ice, and the shivering just doesn't seem to stop.
Sub-zero temperatures. The cold has been responsible for at least 9 deaths in Wisconsin, 21 in Minnesota.
In Dallas, whiplash in the 80s yesterday. Today, struggling to get out of the 20s. The big concern, dangerous ice.
The massive system quickly tracking across this country from Texas now all the way up to New England.
It's the same system that brought 3 days of record rain and mudslides to California.
Here in the east and in the Midwest, winter is showing no signs of budging. Just take a look at Niagara Falls. That is a whole lot of water that isn't going anywhere.
An Okinawa earthquake struck with 6.7 magnitude in the East China Sea off the coast of the Japanese island. The trembler was centered 68 miles north-northwest of the city of Nago at 4:11 on Monday morning.
The Christchurch flood is being called a 1-in-100-year event, but scientists are warning rising sea levels will make coastal flooding much more common.
And record-breaking totals coming out of Canterbury. Akaroa has seen 180 millimetres of rain inside 36 hours, and right behind, hot on its heels, Lyttelton, also a record amount, a top of 175 millimetres. Now, Christchurch City has varied from 70 to 120 millimetres. Again, that's an incredible amount of rain over a 24 to 36 hour period.
The 1-in-100-year event was primarily caused by torrential rain, but coastal studies lecturer Deirdre Hart says sea levels also played a part. Properties on this beach just north of Thames suffered extensive flooding in 2005. Like Christchurch, that was described as a 1-in-100-year event. But if sea levels rise, the time frame shortens.
Half metre of sea level rise, instead of that sort of event occurring once every 100 or 200 years, you'll get them every big tide, which will be several times a year.
Deirdre Hart says Christchurch is a good model of how sea level rise might affect New Zealand because much of the city sunk in the earthquakes.
Rolling in over Sydney Harbour, a storm befitting the word menacing, swallowing up the light and creating a dark sky full of rain, interrupted by flashes of lightning. This wasn't a scene out of a movie, but Wednesday. It's hard to believe that the morning had been the sunniest and warmest that week, according to meteorologists. But in the afternoon, it took a major turn for the worst.
There was fire in the sky last night, followed by a huge boom. It happened about 11:45. It was captured by the Lamy Observatory. The streak across the sky has been classified as a meteor fireball. The classification is often determined by how bright it appears. In this case, it was brighter than Venus and even the moon.
And many of you are commenting about it on our Facebook page. Cora says she heard the boom and the lights went off. Brandon says the boom sounded like thunder.
People in Albuquerque's North Valley tell News 13 it was so loud their houses shook. They wonder if the meteor actually crashed here.
For the first time, scientists say they have captured on camera an asteroid breaking into pieces. The asteroid was traveling in the crowded belt between Mars and Jupiter. It's common for asteroids to break apart, but scientists had never actually seen it happen until now.
Scientists think the effect of sunlight pulling on the asteroid caused it to fall apart. One researcher says they have simply never seen anything like this before.
It is cool.
Whether you appreciate it or not, this is apparently galactically cool. Scientists.
어젯밤 8시쯤에 달만큼이나 밝은 물체가 하늘에서 떨어지는 거 보신 분들 있으시죠? 이 별똥별 유성이 떨어졌다는데요. 한반도에선 보기 드문 아주 밝은 유성이었습니다. 못 보신 분들 화면으로 보시죠. 김성환 기자.
Well, it's one of the biggest earthquakes to hit California in decades.
Yeah, what's now been measured as a 6.8 quake struck last night about 50 miles west of Eureka. No reports of any damage or injuries.
The quake was felt from San Francisco to southern Oregon. A half dozen aftershocks followed, but no tsunami alerts had to be issued.
A magnitude 6.2 earthquake shook western Japan shortly after 2 a.m. local time on Friday. The Japan Meteorological Agency says the quake's epicenter was in the western part of the Seto Inland Sea at a depth of 78 kilometers. It did not trigger a tsunami. The jolt was felt across wide areas in western Japan. So far, 13 people have been injured in 5 prefectures: Hiroshima, Yamaguchi, Okayama, Oita, and Kochi. Many of them fell while trying to evacuate their homes.
Our top focus this morning: inclement weather conditions across the country.
Unseasonal rains have destroyed crops worth 13,000 crores in Madhya Pradesh so far. In Maharashtra, 8 lakh hectares of crops have been hit in the Marathwada region alone by hailstorms, and similar conditions are likely to prevail in the state over the next 2 days as well. 12 people have been killed and crops spread over 1 lakh hectares damaged in Andhra Pradesh as well. Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat and Karnataka have also seen considerable crop damage. Onion prices have risen in Maharashtra already.
Okay, oddly enough, we just got this into CNN. There has been a 5.5 magnitude earthquake that struck right off the coast of the Andaman Islands. And of course, supposedly, according to Reuters, the Andaman Islands are the islands that missing plane was flying towards. I don't know if it means anything. It's just kind of a weird happenstance. We don't have any reports of injuries, no tsunami warning, so that's a good thing.
Chile has ordered an evacuation of parts of its northern coast as a precautionary measure following an earthquake. US geologists say a quake with a magnitude of 7.0 jolted an area 35 kilometers northwest of the city of Iquique. A second tremor was felt about 36 kilometers off the port city, with no immediate reports of major damage.
In California, new concerns about earthquakes after a jolt hit a normally quiet fault line. Monday's quake had a magnitude of 4.4. It was centered 2 miles from Encino. It struck just before sunrise. No one was hurt and there was no major damage. The earthquake shook a 150-mile area, including the studio of our Los Angeles station, KCBS.
Whoa, big earthquake.
Big earthquake right now.
Big earthquake.
Experts say the quake was the strongest to hit under the Santa Monica Mountains in 80 years.
And we really like to use this as a time to remind people, you decided you wanted to live in LA. That means living with earthquakes. Are you ready for it? They aren't all going to be this small.
Okay, it appears to have stopped. Yeah. We're gonna jump right now to to the U.S. Geological Survey.
Local residents in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick woke up to a bit of a surprise when a giant fireball illuminated Canada's skies early on Tuesday morning. The fireball, which is thought to be a meteorite, could also be seen from Nova Scotia, where eyewitnesses said they saw bright lights in the sky and heard a loud noise like thunder at around 5 a.m. local time. An online webcam captured the footage from above Masstown Market, where a bright object could be seen heading towards the ground.
Well, remember that fireball we told you about last night, the one that lit up the early morning sky from eastern Quebec to Nova Scotia? What you just saw was new video of it from New Brunswick. But wait, there's more. This is from a webcam in Digby, Nova Scotia. So why are we still talking about this meteor? Because we received word today that another meteor fell about 24 hours later, again on the East Coast, again in the wee hours of the morning.
Right now, 6.7 magnitude quake in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This is breaking information just coming in. 6.7 on the Richter scale, and it's been felt in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This is news just coming in right now, trickling in. In fact, according to initial reports, it's a quake of 6.7 on the Richter scale. This is information coming in from Andaman and Nicobar Island. We have my colleague on the line with more details. 6.7, it's a fairly bigger quake. What else do we know at this point? Give us details. 6.7 on the Richter scale. Any casualties now?
No. We have passed it as 6.3.
All right. So you're saying 6.3 then?
There was an earthquake at 7:11 IST evening of magnitude 6.3.
Not knowing is the hardest. The words of one woman waiting for news of loved ones missing in the mudslide that's destroyed an entire community in the U.S. state of Washington. 90 people remain unaccounted for in Oso near Seattle. A rain-soaked hillside collapsed, cascading over Highway 530, destroying homes and blanketing a square mile in muck and debris.
The size of it was staggering, measuring about 1,500 feet wide and 600 feet tall.
Again, mud, muck, just called a soupy mess, a wall of mud and debris, some places 15 feet deep.
It blocked the flow of the river, and there are now worries that this could cause further flooding and more mudslides.
And now from the west to the brutal weather back east. 7 days into spring, it's looking a lot like the wilds of winter. The most powerful storm in decades has hit, a blizzard with hurricane-force winds. And from Georgia to Maine, a blast so cold it's poised to shatter records.
Tonight, a powerful blizzard turning Cape Cod into a desolate, windy tundra. The angry ocean churning, threatening coastal homes, battering hurricane flags flying overhead.
Here on Cape Cod, that massive storm over the Atlantic is clipping the land, bringing with it wind gusts of up to 70 miles per hour and up to a foot of snow.
Sustained winds have been churning up the surf, producing dangerous swells in near whiteout conditions, with forecasts of hurricane-force winds throughout the day.
As the storm system kicks out, we're also getting the potential east of the Rockies for record lows. Temperatures will be topping out 10 to 20 degrees below normal. So even though it's almost April, we anticipate highs today to be feeling much more like January.
It's just the latest round in a brutal winter, and Cape Cod locals are hoping it is the last.
The worst storm to hit eastern Canada in at least 10 years is underway. We've had winds exceeding 100 miles per hour, waves up to 45 feet high, and blizzard conditions right along the coast of Massachusetts and Maine, and most certainly Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes. This has been an incredible storm to watch evolve.
Stevens County deputies and Duncan police are scratching their heads after dispatchers fielded dozens of calls reporting an unusually loud boom that sounded like an explosion, but so far it has not been identified. Dispatchers say the calls started coming in just after 6 o'clock tonight. People reported hearing the boom from all areas of the city and the county. Sheriff's deputies and police searched various areas but turned up empty-handed. Callers said the noise was so loud they thought a plane may have crashed.
In this country, lots of folks still on edge tonight in Southern California as more than 150 aftershocks have rocked the region on the heels of that magnitude 5.1 earthquake Friday night.
When the earth shakes like this,
as it has twice in the last 14 days in Southern California. It rattles nerves.
There aren't any reports of major damage this morning, but the earthquake broke water mains and gas lines, cut power to thousands of people, and made a mess of homes and stores. The quake caused this rock slide that knocked a car on its roof, causing minor injuries to the people inside.
The quake was felt by residents as far south as San Diego and as far north as Ventura County.
Experts fear if the big one hits on the same fault that runs through downtown Los Angeles, the City of Angels could see the same kind of destruction San Francisco saw in the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake.
So here's another stat from those seismologists to think about this morning. They say there's about a 5% chance that 5.1 quake on Friday night was what they call a foreshock, a preview of a bigger quake.
Mother Nature is shaking things up on Mount Hood. Geologists report dozens of small earthquakes have been rattling the area for the past few days.
Well, Laurel, as you may know, Mount Hood is an active volcano. It's had many small quakes over the decades, but state geologists say this recent cluster of earthquakes is different.
The tremors started Sunday evening. Since then, state geologist Ian Maiden has been closely monitoring them. So far, he's recorded 31 quakes.
A 4.8 magnitude earthquake shakes Yellowstone National Park this morning. The University of Utah seismograph station crews report the earthquake took place after 6:30, nearly 4 miles northeast of Norris Geyser Basin. The university reports people in West Yellowstone and Gardner, both about 20 miles from the epicenter, could feel the tremors. There were no immediate reports of damage, and there are very few visitors in the park this time of year.
Storms that have swept South China since Saturday have caused 21 deaths as of Monday afternoon, according to the Ministry of Civil Affairs. The ministry added that over 830,000 people have been affected by the storms.
Alongside the hailstorms, there were gales, and in some areas, tornadoes. Lightning flashes and thunder cracks. The flood season in Guangzhou has come earlier than usual.
Chile's president has been surveying the damage after Tuesday's massive earthquake, which struck off the country's northern coast, killing 6 people. More than 2,600 homes were damaged, and fishing boats along the coast near the port of Iquique were smashed up by the tsunami triggered by the 8.2 magnitude tremor.
900,000 people had to be evacuated for fear of a tsunami after the earthquake hit last night.
The quake forced evacuations along Chile's entire Pacific coast,
causing landslides, power outages, and triggering tsunami watch and warning.
Within 45 minutes, the first tsunami wave had reached the coast.
And just one day after being hit by a strong magnitude 8.2 earthquake, Chile was rocked by a strong aftershock measuring 7.8 on the Richter scale.
Smoke and ash spew out of Peru's Ubinas volcano after it erupted on Monday morning. Residents of the nearby village, located just 4 kilometers from the volcano, have been evacuated.
Video has been released of what's believed to be part of a meteorite narrowly missing a Norwegian skydiver. The object can be seen shooting at high speed towards the Earth, just meters away from him. Experts say it's unlikely the rock could be anything but a meteorite fragment.
At least 16 people have died in flash flooding in the Solomon Islands. Days of heavy rain have caused the Matanico River to burst its banks, washing structures and people out to sea. This devastating footage shows water flowing through a street, dragging homes and large pieces of debris with it. Radio New Zealand has reported that the Solomon Islands government has said the floods have left thousands homeless and an unconfirmed number of people missing.
The Solomon Islands has been hit by an earthquake just as the Pacific Ocean archipelago was reeling from heavy flooding from a tropical storm. So far, at least 16 people have died and thousands left homeless as the capital, Honiara, suffered the worst flooding in living memory.
3 eruptions late yesterday rocked the Tungurahua volcano in Ecuador, roughly 90 miles south of Quito, the capital. The eruptions shot smoke and ash 6 miles into the air.